Honorable Senators, we have quorum. Senator Wambua, you may proceed with your time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to continue. I started, Mr. Speaker, by saying that I convey my condolences to the family of Professor Ngugi wa Thiong'o, the people of Karimidu, and the entire literary world on the passing on of Professor Ngugi wa Thiong'o. As Speaker, it shall be remembered by lovers and students of literature that Ngugi made a very big contribution in the global conversation around the place of language in communication. And he is one literary artist who believed that language was not just a tool of communication, that actually language is a carrier of people's culture, that language as a speaker is at the center of the shaping of the identity of our people. And that is why he wrote quite a number of works in his mother tongue, including the play titled Ngugi Kadeda, translated to I Will Marry When I Want, in 1977, which actually landed him in trouble with the government of the day. He was put in, and finally the UNICEF and other international bodies identified him and said that this man is a prisoner of conscience and pushed for his release. The Speaker, as we eulogize this great man in the modern
Senator Kinwa,
African literature.
What is your point of honor? Just a minute. What is out of order now?
I was just concerned because I know Wambua as a good editor, and the book he's talking about, I think, is Ngugi Kadeda.
What is your point
so,
of
so
honor?
I didn't know what book he meant that Ngugi wa Thiong'o wrote, that I will marry when I want, and I know it in another language called Ngugi Kadeda. So I don't know which book he's talking about.
Senator Wambua?
So is it a point of order, or he needs some information, the Speaker?
Takinwa is part of the cartel that stopped the progress of this session.
I believe so.
Yeah, he's
So
not
we don't respond to
so
him.
you know him.
We don't respond to him. So the thing that Senator Kinwa, the thing that Senator Kinwa must know is that a lot of works by Professor Ngugi wa Thiong'o were translated into a number of languages, many languages. In fact, is a short play, The Upright Revolution, or Why Humans Walk Upright, which he wrote in 2016, was translated into more than 100 languages. That is Professor Ngugi for you, and that's the man that we are eulogizing today. The Speaker, for the literary world, we want to tell them, we pass our condolences to them on the passing on of their colleague, and pray that, and there are good signs with the Speaker. I am encouraged to know that all the 4 children of Professor Ngugi wa Thiong'o, T. Ngugi, Mukoma wa Ngugi, Dushi wa Ngugi, and Wanjiko wa Ngugi, all of them, without exception, are actually published authors. They are in the literature world. They are writing and they're being published. So it's a good thing that he has passed on to his children. To our students in schools, Those who have had opportunity to study works of art by Ngugi wa Thiong'o, we all agree that they have been very, very thought-provoking, and that actually his works are the embodiment of the literary saying that literature is not based in a vacuum, that literature draws from society, and that Ngugi wa Thiong'o used the platform of literature to communicate social messages that touched on politics, on economics, and on development of the country and the region. The Speaker, may the soul of Professor Ngugi wa Thiong'o, the father of African modern literature, rest in God's eternal peace. I thank you.
Senator Odinga Oburu.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, sir, I stand here to mourn a friend and a brother. And Professor Ngugi wa Thiong'o was one of the true nationalists we had in this country during the struggle for our independence against the colonizers of this country. Mr. Speaker, sir, colonization came in several ways. There was colonization of the mind, which was colonization of the cultural colonization. There was the political colonization, and there was the economic colonization. Mr. Speaker, Ngugi wa Thiong'o fought against all these, but he is more known for fighting against mental colonization, cultural colonization. Because, Mr. Speaker, when the colonialists came to our country, they first of all despised the African religion. They called us primitive. And therefore they called this country colony. Colony means, where you have a people who are not civilized, who have no form of leadership, who have no form of religion. They have nothing. That they are just living next to that kingdom of the animal. Now, Mr. Speaker, this country had very rich cultures. It has very rich cultures of languages. And when somebody wants to colonize you mentally, Mr. Speaker, they start first with demonizing your language. Because cultures are expressed in our mother tongues. There are some expressions in Kikuyu which Ngugi wa Thiong'o used when he was starting to write, which you cannot express in English. Even if you try to translate them in English, they will not have the same meaning. They will never have the same meaning. And I know sentences in my own language, Luo, which are so deep that if somebody tries to translate them, even me, I cannot translate them into English. That means when somebody makes you believe that their language is superior to yours, they are, first of all, they are colonizing you already mentally. Because they want you to believe that their culture is superior. Then they introduce religion, they tell you their religion is superior. And they want you to also use their names. When you go to church, you are baptized Charles. You call yourself Charles, and Charles is just an English name. It is not even in the Bible anywhere. And you feel that as long Donald, those are just English names which are nowhere even in the Bible. But you feel that because it is a European name, it's superior to your own name of Uburu or Otieno or Ngonga. You know me and Ngugi wa Thiong'o. His name is called Ngugi wa Thiong'o. Where is that Charles or William? It is not there. And even me, I'm Uburu, Ngonga, Molo, Oburu Oging. Those are my baptismal names. Because my father also refused to be culturally colonized. Ngugi said, no, I'm not going to use these names of the Mzungu. And he encouraged. I'm so surprised that during our days, Mr. Speaker, when we were being taught in standard 1, 2, 3, up to 4, we were taught in vernacular, our own language. I learned to read and write in Luo. And all the subjects were taught in Luo up to standard 3 when they introduced English. We started speaking English, doing exams in English in standard 4. And from standard 5 now you had to do English, whether you liked it or not. If you didn't speak English, they gave you a disc in school. But Mr. Speaker, this great man wrote many books, more than 200 books, which he wrote, and they became literally, there were literatures in schools, and they were also not only in Kenya, but in Africa, in the whole of Africa, and in the world, because he went to teach in America. He was teaching Americans. He was not teaching Kenyans there in America. This was a great professor of the world. He was teaching, but he had great passion for our country because he believed that even after independence, when the flag was brought down, our people were still culturally colonized. Because culture, when you misuse your culture, you also become like a slave. And he believed that even though we got our independence, that independence did not give us the freedom of being colonized culturally. It did not give us the freedom of being colonized economically, because our economies were still tied to the metropolis. We were like an appendage of the colonial regimes, and we have been unable since then, Mr. Speaker, sir, to shed ourselves of this colonial, we need to become truly independent so that we can develop our own economies, we can trade and not beg. Mr. Speaker, we can trade with the world because the world has become a world village. But we don't have to be beggars to go and seek money from the metropolis, carrying hats there, Mr. Speaker. And this, Ngugi wa Thiong'o believed in this very dearly, and he disagreed very sharply with a lot of people in leadership in this country. That is why he died somewhere out of our country, still believing that our country was the best, because when he came back to Kenya, at the airport, when he landed, Mr. Speaker, he kissed the soil of Kenya. He kissed the soil of Kenya, Mr. Speaker, because he believed that Kenya is the best as far as he was concerned. He loved this country so deeply, Mr. Speaker. And he actually died, of course, fighting disease like everybody else will go. There's nobody who will live on this earth for good. So we are celebrating Ngugi wa Thiong'o. We are not mourning, but we are celebrating his life because his life was great and he has left legacy. And that legacy will live forever. So I want to say that I want to just wish that the legacy of Ngugi wa Thiong'o will live, and that our children will study deeply what Ngugi wa Thiong'o was teaching, And because our society has become so bad, Mr. Speaker, we have children who don't know their mother tongue. And they think that that is superior because they speak English. As long as they speak English, they think that they are superior than the others who don't speak English. Mr. Speaker, English is just a language of one country. Though it can help you to do many other things. But your own language will teach you your own culture, which teaches you the discipline of your people. Our society was a very disciplined and organized society, and it is becoming more or less like the European society, which is promiscuous. What they do really, there are things which are even unnatural, like a man and a man, and a woman and a woman. What is this, Mr. Speaker? This is completely un-African. And Africans have their own cultures. Mr. Speaker, this was not a session for me to give a lecture on this, but I just want to wish that the legacy of my friend Ngugi Thiong'o will stay to educate and to change our society positively so that our people can continue to fight for justice, to fight for positive change, so that our country can be liberated both culturally and economically. Mr. Speaker, let the soul of Ngugi Thiong'o rest in eternal peace. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Beatrice Ogola.
Honorable Speaker, I rise to mourn a gallant son of this country and of the whole world. One great writer, Ngugi Thiong'o. Honorable Speaker, Ngugi has left behind lots of wisdom. And I want to say that he lived a full life to me, and he fought a good fight. Honorable Speaker, I celebrate Ngugi because of so many things. But one or two of them, Honorable Speaker, is that Ngugi was one of our most educated scholars. I celebrate a Nobel-worthy writer, although he did not finally win one, but he won on 2001 a prize in Italy. But Honorable Speaker, something that is remarkable about Ngugi Thiong'o is that he believed in his identity. Honorable Speaker, we are not worth living if we do not believe in our identity. And Ngugi is one such gallant son of Kenya who was not shy about his identity. Honorable Speaker, Ngugi Thiong'o was named James Ngugi. But because of this identity that I've talked about, he's changed his name to Ngugi Thiong'o. Ngugi, and it is specific that it was a symbol of a rejection of a colonial influence. He believed that in taking the names James, just like my senior Senator Oburu Oginga has said, James did not identify with anything in his environment. And that is why he changed that name to Ngugi. Honorable Speaker, two things that stand out about Ngugi, amongst the many things that we can talk about, is his belief in culture and his belief in the indigenous language, Honorable Speaker. Some of us grew up in our formative years having to learn in our indigenous languages, as Senator Oburu and others have said. And Honorable Speaker, we are not shy about it because it gave us a foundation. A language is an identity. Honorable Speaker, in teaching a language, there are 4 basic skills that people learn in a language. That you learn the skill of speaking, the skill of reading, the skill of writing, and the skill of, as you speak, you read, you write, and you listen. A number of us think, Honorable Speaker, that listening is not a skill. And in the books that Ngugi wrote, and for the students that were taught this language, they were taught these books, the issue of language remains a key. Honorable Speaker, why do I say culture is an outstanding aspect of Ngugi wa Thiong'o? Apart from changing his name, in order to symbolize a rejection of colonial influence, as I've said, he also emphasized teaching the indigenous languages. Honorable Speaker, we have so many languages in this country. As we demonize and as we talk about and as we say we should never be tribalistic. Honorable Speaker, it does not mean that we should not be proud of the languages that we speak, because it is an identity. But Ngugi promoted it in a way that it did not divide anybody. And that is why, Honorable Speaker, Ngugi even emphasized the teaching of oral literature. What was the essence of oral literature? That it brought an harmonization of our cultural environment. That, Honorable Speaker, we could teach our children, and this was a teaching that was passed from generation to generation through oral skills, that you could symbolically make a point and teach, even using certain traits of the animals that we have around us. Honorable Speaker, long time ago, grandparents and parents taught their children, before the coming on formal education, the grandparents used to teach their children, and people would get lessons related to even the traits of animals. Honorable Speaker, this morning I was at a meeting, and the presenter asked ourselves that as you introduced yourself, assume that you are an animal, and what does that animal symbolize? Some of them say they wanted to identify with the elephant, of course, because of the traits of the elephant. And for the first time, I learned, although I thought I knew, that an elephant has very sharp memory and long memory. Some talked about them being a lion. Honorable Speaker, was proud to say that I would have loved to be a cheetah, so that I would move with the speed to correct certain ills that bedevils this society. Honorable Speaker, coming back to Ngugi wa Thiong'o, he talked about speaking one's language. That speaking one's language is to celebrate one identity. It is that identity that I've talked about. And Ngugi was never shy about that indigenous language. But what does that tell us, Honorable Speaker? Ngugi wa Thiong'o was a very learned man. Why do people think in our societies that when you speak your indigenous language, then there's no modernity in you? Honorable Speaker, that is very far away from the truth. And Ngugi promoted the use of indigenous language because he believed that to impose a language on one was a way of dividing us, that in our different diversities, we come together as a common people. Honorable Speaker, some of the things that Ngugi wa Thiong'o in his books preached about, he was very much against dictatorship in his books. He was so much against tyrannical ruling. He was actually out and preached and wrote about injustices in the society. And Honorable Speaker, those are the same things that we keep on preaching today. That we do not want dictators, that we do not want tyrants, and we want a society that is just to everybody. A society that ensures everybody be they the young people like the ones that we have today, be they women, be they men, be they older people, we want a society where everybody lives in dignity. Honorable Speaker, there are a number of books that Ngugi wrote. One of them was Weep No Child, The River Between, A Grain of Wheat. And two of them, Weep No Child and A Grain of Wheat, specifically talked about the impact of colonialism. Honorable Speaker, although the whites came and colonized us, a number of people came and fought, resisted this, but Ngugi was so creative that other than speaking out about it, he wrote about it. And the beauty of this, Honorable Speaker, is that what is written in books remain as a record to the society, and everybody can read, including the young students we have today. And I want to invite you that as you go out to read the novels that you are taught today, in respect of one Ngugi, a gallant son of this country, please go out and find a book, The River Between, and A Grain of Wheat, and Weep No Child, in honor of Ngugi. And for even a number of us that have not read, if you're not a fan of reading, at least go and read A Grain of Wheat. And as I've said, Honorable Speaker, one of his books that is very interesting is The Petals of Blood, and this is a book that led to his imprisonment. But one outstanding characteristic of Ngugi is that he believed in what he was writing about. He believed on the content of the teachings that readers would get from his books. And so, not even jailing him did not dampen the spirit of Ngugi. And so, as Kenyans, as I stand here to celebrate Ngugi, as I stand here to celebrate Ngugi wa Thiong'o, I'm calling upon all of us to celebrate and appreciate such great writers that we have had. Ngugi plays in another league, and we are calling upon also the government of Kenya that because we are celebrating this gallant son, let us celebrate him to the end. And may the government come out and give Ngugi wa Thiong'o a good and a deserving send-off when his body is brought back to the country. I cherish the teaching of this great son. I've read his books many times. And as I've said, I ask everybody that has not read to take off time to read the works of Ngugi. And as I wind off and support this great motion by our Senator Danson Mungatana, we must as a country continue to celebrate our outstanding gallant sons and daughters. I appreciate Ngugi for sticking to his identity and for calling out everybody to be proud of their identity and of their culture. Honorable Speaker, culture is a way of life. As you live it now, and culture changes, but as culture changed in Ngugi's writing, the main themes remained in the content as he wrote them. Ngugi lived a full life. He fought a good fight, and may his soul rest in peace, and may he join our gallant sons that went before it. I remember one such writer, Margaret Ogola, The River and the Source, and many other writers. I want to compare Ngugi to people who came out boldly to shed off names that they were not comfortable about. One such person is Jaramogi Odinga. Yes, Adonijah Jaramogi Odinga. He refused to pick that other name. And Honorable Speaker, he fought for that identity. I celebrate Ngugi, and I want to say, Honorable Speaker, as I I conclude that let us keep on celebrating such gallant sons, and let us not be ashamed of our identity, our culture, and our environmental circumstances. Honorable Speaker, I support.
Senator Mohamed Faki.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipa fursa hii pia kuchangia hoja ya kumkumbuka mwenda zake Profesa Ngugi wa Thiong'o. Mheshimiwa Spika, Profesa Ngugi wa Thiong'o ilikuwa ni gwiji la sanaa ya uandishi na ameweza kuandika vitabu vingi karibu 200, na vile vile pia ameandika michezo mingi ya kuigiza. Hivyo basi akaiweka nchi ya Kenya vile vile na Afrika katika upeo wa juu kwenye masuala ya sanaa. Mheshimiwa Spika, tukiangalia maisha ya mwenda zake Ngugi, alianza katika hali ya chini, lakini kwa kutumia kipaji chake na masomo aliyosoma aliweza kujiweka katika hali ya juu kabisa katika masuala ya usanii na kutambuliwa ulimwengu mzima kama gwiji wa sanaa. Mheshimiwa Spika, alipigania uhuru wa nchi yetu ya Kenya, na vile vile pia alipigania lugha za Kiafrika ziweko katika mapu ya ulimwengu, kwamba ni lugha ambazo zinaweza kutumika kama lugha nyingine yoyote ulimwenguni. Mheshimiwa Spika, Muingereza ama mtu mweupe alipokuja Afrika, kwanza kabisa alidunisha na kudharau lugha za kienyeji. Lugha nyingi Mheshimiwa Spika haziwezi kutumika, na ndio mpaka sasa Mheshimiwa Spika nchini mwetu tutatumia Kiingereza kama lugha ya kwanza, wakati tuna lugha zetu ambazo tunaweza kutumia kama lugha ya Kiswahili ambayo imepata matumizi makubwa kutoka Afrika Mashariki na ya Kati, na sasa mpaka Afrika Kusini. Mheshimiwa Spika, lugha hii inatumika. Vile vile hata katika Pan African Parliament, bunge la Afrika, Mheshimiwa Spika, lugha ya Kiswahili inatumika na inatambulika. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, msukumo wa mwenda zake Ngugi ndio ulileta kutambulika kwa hizi lugha za Kiafrika, na hivyo basi zikatoa mchango mkubwa katika kuunganisha Afrika. Mheshimiwa Spika, moja ya silaha ambazo zilitumika katika kuunganisha Waafrika wakati wa ukoloni ilikuwa ni lugha ya Kiswahili, Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwa hivyo mchango huu Mheshimiwa Spika ni mkubwa, na vile vile baada ya uhuru vile vile Mheshimiwa Spika, mwenda zake Profesa Ngugi aliona kwamba ni majina tu yaliyobadilika, lakini sio uhuru kamili wa Mwafrika. Ndio maana Mheshimiwa Spika, katika vitabu vyake vingi alijaribu kukosoa ule mwelekeo ama mwongozo ambao nchi ulikuwa unatumia ili kuendesha masuala yake. Mheshimiwa Spika, alijipata pabaya mwenda zake Ngugi, kwa sababu wale ambao walikuwa mamlakani wakati ule hawakuweza kukubali fikra zile alizokuwa nazo mwenda zake Ngugi. Mheshimiwa Spika, licha ya kwamba alikwenda uhamisho, vitabu vyake Mheshimiwa Spika viliendelea kusomwa. Nafasi hii Mheshimiwa Spika imesaidia pakubwa kuleta mwamko wa masuala ya kiutamaduni, mwamko katika masuala ya kiserikali, na vile vile pia mwamko katika masuala ya masomo, kwa sababu vijana wengi Mheshimiwa Spika wameweza kusoma na kufuata mwelekeo ambao ameufuata mwenda zake Ngugi. Mheshimiwa Spika, wakati tunamzungumzia Profesa Ngugi, ni majuzi tu wasichana waliweza kuzuiliwa kuonyesha mchezo wao katika maonyesho ya sanaa ya nchi yetu. Mheshimiwa Spika, ilikuwa ni aibu kwamba tumeweza kuwazuia wasichana wale, wakati ilikuwa ni kila mwaka wasichana wale waliweza kufanya vizuri katika masuala ya sanaa. Wewe Mheshimiwa Spika, ni lazima tujiangalie tena upya kama taifa la Kenya. Mwenda zake Ngugi amekufa ugenini wakati nchi yake ilikuwa haimkubali kwa sababu ya mawazo yake, Mheshimiwa Spika. Na wako wengi ambao wako nje, Mheshimiwa Spika, na mpaka sasa Mheshimiwa Spika, jana tu tukizungumzia msichana mmoja aliyejulikana kama jina la Rose, aliweza kupelekwa mahakamani kwa kuweza kutanabahisha watu kuhusiana na masuala ya mswada wa fedha ambao unakuja katika bunge la kitaifa katika wiki inayofuata. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, bado nchi yetu ina safari kubwa ya kwenda ili kuona kwamba ule uhuru ambao tulipigania, Mheshimiwa Spika, unakuwa ni wa manufaa na kila mtu ambaye katika Kenya yuko huru kufanya vile ambavyo sheria inampasa kufanya. Mheshimiwa Spika, nikimalizia nachukua fursa hii kutuma rambirambi zangu kwa niaba yangu binafsi, familia yangu na niaba ya watu wa Mombasa kwa familia ya mwenda zake Ngugi kwa kumpoteza mpendwa wao na kumpoteza kiungo kikubwa, Mheshimiwa Spika, katika nchi yetu kwa masuala ya sanaa. Mheshimiwa Spika, tukiombea roho yake ilale pema poponi, ni lazima wale ambao tumebaki katika ulimwengu huu, Mheshimiwa Spika, kuendeleza zile mafunzo na fasihi ambayo mwenda zake aliacha katika nchi yetu. Mheshimiwa Spika, tuombea roho yake ilale pema peponi. Asante kwa fursa hii.
I call upon the mover to reply.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to reply. I also want to thank my colleagues who contributed to this motion. I want to start with the seconder of the motion, the Honorable Paris Tobiko. I want to thank Senator Enoch Wambua, the Honorable Senator Dr. Oburu Oginga, Honorable Senator Beatrice Ogola, Honorable Senator Mohamed Faki. Mr. Speaker, not forgetting the co-sponsor of this motion, the Honorable Senator Veronica Maina. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank those who made their contribution. Mr. Speaker, the running theme in the contribution of the Honorable Senators was emphasizing the question of the use of language, particularly our indigenous languages. Mr. Speaker, it is unfortunate that Ngugi's fight continues to be a struggle even today in our various families. Mr. Speaker, the European and the white man continues to affect our children. They go to school, they learn the language, and they obtain knowledge in mathematics, in physics, in history, using the white man's language. They come home, they greet us in the white man's language. They make jokes in the white man's language. They watch movies in the white man's language. Mr. Speaker, even the kind of speech and culture that they have adopted, our own children, is no different from a child who has been raised up in Leicester or somewhere in New York, because our children watch a lot of television. And this has continued to make the struggle that Ngugi wa Thiong'o started, because the language they use reflects the cultural values of those people. And Mr. Speaker, the cultural values of a lot of our European brothers are not reflective of the cultural values of the African people as we had envisaged them through the mind of Professor Ngugi wa Thiong'o. And so, as we pay our homage, this Senate urges the rest of the country that we must continue to inculcate our children, our generations, with the cultures of our people. We must continue to take the good things about our cultures and keep talking to our children about them. Mr. Speaker, in Pokomo culture, for example, you would not answer back to your elder brother, not leave alone your mother or your father. In my culture, Mr. Speaker, you would not call your elder a liar. He could only have forgotten the facts. Mr. Speaker, you cannot finish on the table and leave your older brother, leave alone your father, eating, because it is inferring that he is greedy. You cannot meet or even greet your mother-in-law with your hands, Mr. Speaker. You have to look far away. If she's coming this way, you go far away. Mr. Speaker, you don't meet them face to face. And we had a lot of problems when now we shifted to Nairobi and our mothers-in-law would come to visit. Mr. Speaker, it will be very, very complicated because you are not supposed to be in the same roof like your mother-in-law. And Mr. Speaker, when sometimes we tell some of our colleagues that it is wrong, for example, to call leaders, the president, ministers, to call them liars, it is against what we have been brought up to say. Some people don't understand us, but I know the spirit of Professor Ngugi wa Thiong'o would understand. When you say, I cannot, for example, in my own culture, mention the name of my older brother. I can't call him by his name, Mr. Speaker. I have to add a title. So, in my language, if I want to call my older brother, Professor Eric Mungatana, I have to say Tata Eric. You cannot mention his name without adding a title. Mr. Speaker, these things that held our families together, held our communities together, these things that made us be respected amongst our people, they are gone nowadays. People who are the age of your fathers, who are all your fathers, they could discipline you. You are subject to that control. Mr. Speaker, I strongly believe that this Senate will continue to make that call, that our people will continue to honor our cultures like they did, like Professor Ngugi wa Thiong'o would have wanted. And for us to honor Professor Ngugi wa Thiong'o, let us sit down with our children, let us sit down with our young ones and tell them that even if they watch television and they do this kind of thing, they should remember where they came from. They should remember that there is circumcision, and when you're circumcised, this is how you behave. They should remember that these are the good things about our tribes. They should remember about the brave people of old who helped to keep our communities as they are, and the folklores that we had. And Mr. Speaker, as I finish here, I urge the correct institutions, perhaps those institutions where a professor served, we need to have these things in a digital format, some of the books, some of the works, so that, Mr. Speaker, they will never be forgotten. And, Mr. Speaker, they can form part of our history. When you visit some of these museums here in Nairobi, they tell you about certain things. But these people of stature, like Professor Ngugi wa Thiong'o, should be celebrated in some of these important museums. And they should be recorded as people who have made their contribution to this nation. And they should be honored even posthumously. And I call upon the government of Kenya to honor these people. And Mr. Speaker, you know, people like Ngugi wa Thiong'o, they should be honored even posthumously because they are deserving of national recognition, East African recognition, African recognition, Mr. Speaker, for what they contributed in this life when they lived it. May God rest his life, his soul in eternal peace. And Mr. Speaker, I beg to reply. Thank you. And Mr. Speaker, I also ask that the voting be, I pray that the putting of the question be deferred to another date. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Mungatana. The put of the question is deferred. Next order.